All right, good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and I'm back at the mine now. Trying to give you a little reference to where we are. I was out here, I think, 2 trips ago, and I gave you a tour of where they had cleared all the logs, and we're right below that right now. And over here is the drilling right over my shoulder. That's where they're actually drilling right now. They're on the 5th hole, and in some of these holes, essentially what they're doing is they're drilling right down to bedrock. So bedrock is where the solid rock is. So all the gold is going to be on top of that. And they've had, in these first 5 holes, they've literally gone down. The deepest hole was about 200 feet deep. And what was really exciting about it, I just learned from Dan, who's right up there, that in the first 5 holes, consistently from about 75 feet down to 175 feet down, there's gold in every sample, which is incredibly exciting news for us. And if that continues all the way through here, that confirms everything for us. A little bit later on, I'm going to take you back way down there. That's our current mine site down there. And it's hard to see from here, but that's where they're doing the finish work. So what they're doing here is they're drilling down, and every 10 feet, they're grabbing samples, putting them into buckets, cleaning it up, and then they take it down there where they're sifting through everything and determining the samples. And then all the samples they're creating are going to go off to the geologist, where they use the computer screening and mapping to tell us the exact quantities that are in this ground. So it's pretty fascinating. One thing that is disappointing about being here now is I think we're done mining for this year. We passed snow a couple times on the way in here. It is 0 degrees right now. It's not warm here at all. And when it freezes, we don't have water. And so we made the decision this morning that we're going to shut down our mining operations for the year. So we're going to get the drilling done. We'll send the drilling samples off to the geologists, and they'll tell us within the next month exactly where the gold is, how much of it is. And then we're going to get into planning for next spring. And that'll be season 2 of this crazy adventure we're on. So let's go up and take a look and see what's actually happening here in the drilling operation. I'll explain it to you. Okay, let me spin this around and give you guys a good understanding of what's happening here. Okay, so that's the drilling operation there. And it's really hard to see from where you're at here, but the guy that's operating the drilling operation, just to the right of him, you can see that's where the hole is going into the ground. And they add these 20-foot lengths as they're driving down through it. And then you see a tube that's coming off of it that goes on the ground. It goes into where that bucket is right there. That's the samples coming up. So every 10 feet, they fill up another bucket, and it's got all the material that was inside of that pipe. And you can see he's putting a little sifter he's got in his hand there. And what he's doing with that sifter is he's going to take a sample every 10 feet, and he takes those samples and he's putting it into these trays. And you can see the trays say the depths that it's coming from, and you can see the different types of materials. So lots of stone right through the first 50 feet. Then you get into about 10 feet of clay, and then a combination of stone and clay, then some more clay around 80 feet, and then we're down to 100 feet here. And now we believe that this hole they're digging is going to go down 200 feet. So he continues to put a sample in every 10 feet. So they take those samples along with the finished samples from the buckets and send that all off to the geologist. So what's happening here is the guys are nonstop drilling up here. The samples go into those buckets. They drain some of the water out of the buckets. They run the buckets down to the site there where they finish getting the samples and put them into containers there that match the containers here. We send that all off to the geologist. It is dirty, messy dealings here. And of course, I got to tell you, that's Dan right there. Dan hates being on camera, but he's our general manager. He's the guy I've been telling you about. That's the mechanical engineer, and he's really the life of this business. All right, well, I just had to take a little video of this so you guys could see it, because you'll never believe it. But here I am. They put me to work, and I'm walking a 336 excavator up this road. You can see basically what I'm doing is I'm controlling the forward momentum and turning the rig with my feet down there. If I take my feet off, she slows down, and then I'll put her back on again. So what's happening now, another thing that's happening here today is we have the community forest guys that are finally coming to get the logs. And the guys are worried about the state of the road up there with these big logging trucks coming down. So they want the excavator moved up to a position where it can be ready to shore up the road and move dirt around if we need to. And because I'm the least productive guy on the team, this is the type of stuff they have me doing when I'm on site, is just moving equipment around. And I can tell you guys, I would have never thought in a million years that I'd be doing this stuff. But this is another, I guess you want to say, a startup rule is that everybody does everything. So I've never driven an excavator in my life. My business partner Will helped me figure out how to do this. And here I am, driving it up the hill. Take you one last flip around just so you can see what's happening. There you go. Got to be careful because that you don't want to run over that water line there. I could screw up the whole operation. But that's what we got going on here. Good Lord, what a scary day. I'm a little bit nervous doing this, but it's all good. All right, I got the excavator up there. Let me show you. It's a beautiful view, and you can get a really good feel for the whole mining operation from up here. But we put the cat up there. I put the cat up there, and I got to tell you, I was nervous as hell. And now it's up there just in case we have any troubles with the miners. If I spin this around, there's the view. So if you go back to the first videos, this was all trees. And you can see all the trees packed down at the bottom there. We cleared out this whole area. This is about 4 acres of 1,800 acres. And right down the middle, you can see where the little blue tent is. Right down the middle is where the ancient river, it goes down on both sides, and that's the bottom. So that's where they believe the most gold is. There's the drilling operation I was telling you about before. And I'm going to walk down there, past those guys, and we're going to show you where they're cleaning the samples and getting them ready to head off to the geologist. All right, so now we're back down at the wash station. Now, what you've had to notice by now is that there's actually 2 different samples. They have those little core samples that they're putting into the Petri dishes. And down here, we've got our 2 senior guys, Mike and Steph. Truck came down and dropped off the buckets right there. And Mike's loading them into the little trommel, the mini trommel we have, and getting rid of all of the most of the material. And then all the fine tailings with the gold in it is going to get caught in those mats. You can see how that's all running down, getting cleaned up, and all the gold and materials getting caught in those mats right there. And once they run the buckets through there, they're going to take those mats, clean them out. Over here to Steph, and Steph's our expert in finding the gold. And anybody that understands gold mining knows that you can get as sophisticated as you want, but the expertise really comes in what this man is doing right here. The panning. Trying to get rid of the last bits of dirt and keep all of the important materials all together. What we're ideally praying for is to see a bit of gold in that pan. See some pyrite in there. How many pans will you do in this whole thing? How many pans have you done today?
For 10 feet, I think.
Wow.
Pyrite might be some little micron. There's some microns in there.
Yeah.
Just starting to see gold now.
But I mean, all of this is only coming from that tube that's only 5 inches wide. Like, these are fine samples to begin with, right?
Yeah. We're looking for garnets, like the heavies, right? And we got some garnets from here now. Yeah, we got some garnets.
Yeah.
We're starting to see the right material, right? And pyrite is definitely heavy.
So what are the materials that are going to tell you there's gold in the area? Garnets, pyrite?
Yep.
Little copper even?
Yeah, any copper. We have copper left. We got a different type of pyrite there.
Yeah. So you can kind of get a feel for what's actually happening. Those drills that we saw earlier are going down to bedrock, and every 10 feet they're filling up a bucket. They bring those buckets down here, so they take a sample up there, put it in the tray, which is just right out of there, and then the buckets all come down and all the material gets cleaned and put into individual dishes. And I'll show you those little dishes that he's dealing with right now. He's going to put that all in that dish. Everything is labeled. and it all heads off to the geologists. And it's those geological studies, those official studies, that are going to tell us where the real gold is at this mine. All right, I'm back in the likely lodge, and this is like central to northern British Columbia, so you can see. Let me just turn this around and I'll show you. You can see it's like circa 1970. Very cozy room though, and it's warm. I have to tell you, I don't know if you guys can see this in me from the earlier videos, but it was 0 degrees down there. It's freezing. And while we were there, I made the decision to shut down mining operations for the year. And here's why I did. Placer mining, as we're doing, is all based on using water and wash plants to mine the gold, to clean the gold, to clean the pay dirt and get the gold. And because of that, it's a seasonal business. The water freezes, you can't do anything with it. The temperatures in the next 2 weeks are forecast to all be below 0, and there was even snow while I was down there. And you have to be careful about this. You could try and push it as much as you want, but if all of a sudden they get a heavy dump of snow and we don't get things like our generator out of there and some of the other essential equipment, important equipment, and winterize our big piece of equipment that we're going to leave there, we could do damage to what we're doing there. So what we decided to do today was to shut down the mine for the season and finish the drilling. So when we were there, I showed you that they're on about the 5th hole. It's fascinating. But what's really exciting about it is this is the final step in the geological studies. At the end of this drilling, as I mentioned on site, all those samples they're collecting are going to be sent to our geologist, and they're going to complete computer scans of all the samples. And from those computer scans, they are going to be able to measure exactly how much gold is in the ground. It's all scientific. What I'm the most excited about is, in conversation, our geologist has said that there's tens of millions of dollars of gold just in that 4-acre area. And he's going to be able to put an exact number on it. And the documents that he's going to fill out at the end of this are Government of British Columbia documents that are valid proof of the actual gold. So it's basically like an appraisal that says there's this much in the gold ground and this area is worth whatever that number could be. I'm expecting anywhere between $10 million and $100 million, but we don't know yet. We won't know. And I'll do another video to update when we get that information back from the geologist. I'll even try and see if there's a way to share it with you. But here's what we decided to do. So we're going to finish the drilling, which should take another week to 2 weeks. Then we're going to shut down for the season. What that's going to do is that's going to give us an exact count, and it's going to tell us exactly where to dig next year. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to plan to bring in engineers, and they're going to help us to design a pit that we're going to build. Now we're talking a massive pit, because to get to the best gold, we have to go down at least 70 feet. And so as you can imagine, that pit has to be wide and roads into it, and we have to actually get permits to do that. Well, we're going to do all that stuff. Here's the other thing that's exciting. From the phase 2 studies, we had identified to us 7 other huge significant deposits of gold in the 1,800 acres. 2 of them are areas that we're going to work on next year. So one area, we call it the top of the hill because it's the highest point. It's also the lowest number to bedrock. In other words, from the surface down to the bedrock, which all the gold is on top of the bedrock, it's 30 to 40 feet. And there's gold all the way through it, what we believe. But it's shallow enough that we can take our equipment up there, set it up, and mine it. Just dig it all, put it through the wash plant, and get a lot of gold. So that's going to be our plan. We're going to permit that area, and we're going to start mining in that area next spring. Based on what we get back from the geologist of the area that we're drilling right now, we're going to decide what we're going to do with that area. We may just do the new area and leave that for now, knowing exactly how much gold is in the ground. We have another permit that we're expecting to get in the next month from another area that we call our China Farm area. This is the closest area to the bullion pit, and this specific area is about 8 acres that we're getting permitted. In the spring, we're going to repeat what we just did on the 4 acres. So we're hoping that we can actually get all the trees removed by the community forest people before the spring. They can do this very easily in the wintertime, and that's what we're hoping can happen. And if that goes well, then we're going to bring the drillers back right away and get them to drill that whole area. Tell us exactly where the gold is while we're working at our site at the top of the hill. So we know we're going to get into significant gold recovery at the top of the hill in the season of 2025, starting in the spring. We may actually do 2 areas, depending on what happens with our current drilling. But either way, by the end of next year, we're going to have 2 major areas drilled and have a massive number that we can work with. That's all documented and proven. It's like an appraisal, as I was telling you. And we're going to start significant gold recovery. We're going to plan it all out. Obviously, we've only owned this mine for about 3 months. And in that time, we really decided that we were going to focus on turning this mine from a hobby mine to a true commercial operation. And we're on the way to do that right now. And it's been very exciting. The downside of this is we didn't make any money this year. We did recover a significant amount of gold. We recovered about, I don't know the exact number yet, I'm trying to do it in my head right now, but it was about, I think it's just under 100 ounces for the whole season. Significantly less than what we wanted because we had breakdowns and everything, but at $3,400 an ounce, 100 ounces, well, let's just do the math. If I go to the handy dandy calculator, some of you guys that are fast with numbers already know, but if I say 100 ounces times $3,400, it's $340,000, which was a good start for a couple months. But now we have our whole team together. We have the geological studies that say exactly where the gold is and how much there is. And we can make a serious plan for our commercial operation starting in the spring. And with that, friends, that's the end of season 1. Now, like I told you before, in less than 10 days from now, we have the Real Estate Investor Summit happening in Toronto, Canada. On Sunday, at the event, I'm going to do a major training on how this all happened, how I found this real estate to buy, because remember, this is real estate. We bought 4 acres of land that we own and 1,800 acres of claims. I'm going to teach everybody at this event exactly how I did that, how I legally and ethically, within the rules of fundraising, governed by the provincial regulatory authorities, most specifically the Ontario Securities Commission and the BC Securities Commission, we raised the money legally and ethically to do this. We acquired the property, and now we're sitting at a place where we could have a mine that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If you haven't gotten a ticket to come to the Real Estate Investor Summit yet, I'm going to put a link in the notes of this show so that you know to get a ticket and you want to be there, because after I do that training on Sunday, I'm literally going to do a draw in front of 1,000 people, and one of you is going to win 10 ounces of gold. And if you don't know how to get into that draw yet, let me explain how to do it, because there's still time. Every single person who watches every episode in the So I Bought a Gold Mine series, season 1, you have to watch all the videos, to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, you have to comment on all the videos, and you have to share them. On Friday and Saturday, we're going to create a list of everybody that's complied with the rules and done that. We're going to put all their names in a draw, and one lucky winner is going to be announced in front of 1,000 people and is going to win $34,000 in pure gold. I want to thank everybody for watching season 1. If you guys are excited about where we're going in season 2, give me your comments and feedback in the chat, and we'll see you at the Real Estate Investor Summit.